We're kicking off with NXT, as this week's show saw Dijak and Eddy Thorpe hold nothing back during their match, and Dijak actually jumped Thorpe during his entrance. The pair fought around a bit before they went inside, but it was well inside the ring that things got a little too hard-hitting for the ring to handle. During a whip into the buckle, Dijak was cut open on the side of his head, and the entire turnbuckle broke in a shocking spot that took fans by surprise. This was likely not part of the plan, and they had Dijak hit Thorpe with a piece of the broken turnbuckle to cause a DQ, and Dijak was seen bleeding painfully from the side of his head. This result didn't settle anything between the two, but it was still quite a show, and it goes to show that you never know what may go wrong when you step into the ring. For some time, fans have been wondering who attacked Trick Williams, with many pointing the finger of blame at his friend and ally, Carmelo Hayes. Lexis King made it clear he believes Hayes attacked Trick, but on this week's NXT, we learned that Melo has been the victim of a similar attack. This week's NXT kicked off with Hayes in the back selling the attack, and Trick Williams and several officials were checking on him, but the actual attack wasn't shown on TV. This attack comes at an interesting time, as Melo is set to compete on SmackDown in the tournament to determine Logan Paul's US title challenger, but will he be able to make it now? It's also interesting that the attack on Hayes wasn't shown, and we're sure some will speculate that it never happened, and Melo is faking to get people off his case in the Trick Williams investigation. On NXT, Hayes had another suspicion as to who is the one who attacked Trick Williams, as he accused NXT champion Ilya Dragunov of being the one who attacked Trick and himself. Perplexed, the Mad Dragon denied any wrongdoing, but Hayes claimed it was part of a plan to separate Melo and Trick, which would help Dragunov in his efforts to keep the title. When Hayes tried to grab the title from Dragunov, he accidentally hit Trick Williams in the face with it, leading to the crowd chanting "guilty" at Melo as the show came to an end. This week's NXT saw another twist in this gold brand whodunit, and who do you think is responsible for this latest attack? And were they the one who attacked Trick? Let us know in the comments. Now, CM Punk had plenty to say on this week's episode of WWE Raw, and during his promo, he made reference to briefly being paired with Mickie James for a kayfabe relationship. Fans were surprised to hear the Impact Wrestling knockout get mentioned, and on Twitter, James herself reacted to this surprise name dropping. In a tweet, James shared a photo of her and Punk during this dark match tryout and called Punk her brother and her friend, and was clearly pleased to be mentioned. James has been gone from WWE for some time, though made a shocking appearance during last year's Women's Royal Rumble, and it's clear that Punk hasn't forgotten about Hardcore Country. Since his return to WWE, CM Punk has had plenty to say, but we're yet to see the best in the world get physical or have a match in the ring. That will all change soon enough, as this week, Punk's first match was confirmed, though only a select few will get to see his first WWE match in close to a decade. Punk will compete at the annual Madison Square Garden Live event on December 26th, and it's fitting that his first match back will take place in the world's most famous arena. CM Punk will face Dirty Dominik Mysterio at the show, and the pair will also face off on December 30th at the IKEA Forum in Inglewood, California. Punk has been all over WWE since his return, and after appearing at NXT Deadline last week, made a surprise appearance backstage at this week's episode. Sean Ross Sapp noted that Punk had been hanging out with the NXT talent and those working backstage throughout the day, but ultimately, he wasn't used on the show. From all accounts, CM Punk's WWE return has been controversy-free thus far, and he's happy to be back, and fans attending the upcoming events will get to see Punk in action. Over to Raw, as Seth Rollins finally came face-to-face with CM Punk this week and cut a scathing promo on the ex-All-Elite star, saying Punk shouldn't call WWE his home. The essence of Rollins' promo is that he's here to protect WWE from CM Punk, believing it's only a matter of time before Punk causes trouble, but this promo sounded very similar to some. On Twitter, fans argued that this was too similar to an AEW segment between CM Punk and Hangman Adam Page, in which Page essentially said the same as what Rollins did this week. Page's promo hinged on the notion that Punk was only in AEW for himself, and that the Cowboy was here to protect AEW from Punk, and his comments proved to be quite prophetic. Some did fire back, saying that Rollins' promo made more sense in context, as Page's promo was before Punk's backstage fights, and one fan said that people saw Seth's promo. But what do you think? Did WWE copy AEW's promo with what transpired on this week's Raw? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now, LA Knight has been one of WWE's most popular stars in 2023, but as of late, it certainly felt like the megastar isn't the megastar he once was. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T spoke about Knight's direction ever since his loss at Crown Jewel, and believes certain recent returns may have cost the popular superstar. He said, "Hey man, that's the way the old mop flops sometime. But me personally, I said we need to pull the trigger on LA Knight, we need to do it quick. I'm sure all this stuff with like CM Punk unfolded rather quickly, getting back in the game. Randy Orton, we've been anticipating Randy's return for some time, so that wasn't a surprise or anything, but having more than one person to compete with at one time could shake up everything. So you might be right on that, but hopefully LA Knight can hold his own." In a recent promo at a WWE live event, Knight said that Orton and Punk will have to get in line behind him as he wants another shot at Roman Reigns before either man. Reigns vs. Orton is expected to happen at the Royal Rumble, and there are long-term plans for Punk and the Tribal Chief, but have we already seen the peak of LA Knight on WWE TV? In the main event of this week's Raw, Cody Rhodes battled Shinsuke Nakamura in a match that ended when Nakamura sprayed Rhodes with the dreaded red mist. In a promo after Raw, Rhodes told the fans that he was having trouble seeing from his left eye after the mist and felt like he'd been hit by a train. In an update, sources indicated that Cody did actually get checked out and that he is doing fine, and that his claim about getting checked backstage wasn't just for show. Doctors did actually check his eye backstage, and it's thankful that Rhodes is okay, as the last thing anyone needs is Rhodes to be out of action this close to the road to WrestleMania 40. More from NXT as Dragon Lee captured the North American title at last weekend's Deadline and issued an open challenge this week, which was answered by Tyler Bate. The two held their own against each other and traded offense with a very cool double dropkick spot at the same time, though they both missed. After a commercial break, Bate took out the champ with a suicide dive before decking him with a clothesline off the ropes back in the ring. Not to be outdone, Lee hit a super kick and suicide dive of his own, and then nailed the Brit with a dropkick in the corner, though Bate spun Lee into a fireman's carry over a dozen times into a slam for a 2 count. The finish saw Lee hit Bate with the Operation Dragon to retain the title, and after this week, more Dragon Lee Open challenges are a must. Lee is a great in-ring worker who will get more and more over with each match, and who do you think should challenge next for the North American Championship? It was a few months back that Becky Lynch had an impressive run in NXT, which culminated in her losing the NXT Women's title to current champion Lyra Valkyria. The Valkyrie has made it clear that she admires Lynch, so it's hardly a surprise that she has a photo of her title win in her locker, but this image was defaced this week. In a backstage segment featuring Valkyria and Nikkita Lyons, the Lioness noticed a change in the photo, with Lynch's face being covered by that of Tatum Paxley's. Paxley has been consistently playing mind games with the Irish woman for some time now, and it'll be intriguing to see how this plays out into the inevitable showdown between the two. Just a few months ago, Chad Gable had a fantastic feud with Gunther over the Intercontinental Championship, which saw Gunther retain the title in an instant classic on Raw. In a post-show interview, the emotional Gable made it clear he would be the one to beat the Austrian, and their story is far from over, but the Olympian may have spoken too soon. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was explained that the angle, which also leaned into Gable's role as a father, has essentially been dropped, and there's been no follow-up for months. It was then speculated that for WrestleMania, fans could finally see the long-anticipated Gunther vs. Brock Lesnar match, possibly with the Intercontinental title in the picture. Fans may have rallied behind Gable's emotional vow to be the next IC champion, but it sadly isn't in the cards, and Gunther's next title defense will see him go one-on-one with The Miz. But what do you make of this? Should Gable have been the one to dethrone the Austrian, or do you think someone else should hold that honor? Let us know down below. In 2005, the wrestling world lost Eddy Guerrero at the tragically young age of 38, and it wasn't long until WWE began using Eddy's sudden passing for their own storylines. Rey Mysterio's sudden push to the main event saw countless references, often tasteless, being made to Eddy, with the entire practice later being dubbed Eddy-sploitation by fans. Speaking on the Insight podcast, Chavo Guerrero spoke about his late uncle and how WWE has been using Eddy for Dominik Mysterio, which doesn't sit right with him. He said, "We get a lot of people really trying to capitalize off of the Guerrero name and Eddy's name. You see it all the time. I mean, I just saw it at a house show I was at." Well, Dominik is also collecting a big paycheck as well. I don't know if the paycheck wasn't there, would he still be doing it? That's what I wonder about. It's like, hold on a second, because the zeros behind the numbers are probably pretty big, especially right now the way WWE's paying. When Eddy's daughters aren't reaping benefits, yes, it bothers me. If anybody should be making money off of Eddy Guerrero, it should be Eddy's daughters. I don't know if that's correct, if Eddy Guerrero's daughters get paid for merch sales. At least talking to them about it, that's something that I would definitely wish they were. It's their dad, that should have been in there. You know, his will and his persona, his name and his likeness should belong to them. Let them make the money off their father. Eddy's daughter Shaw was briefly part of WWE NXT but hasn't competed in years, while his other daughter Sherry Lynn never followed in her father's footsteps into the ring. WWE has never shied away from bringing up Eddy, and much of Dominik's heel work has been a nod to Latino heat, but does WWE go too far? Let us know what you think in the comments. Ever since he returned, fans have speculated about whether CM Punk has heat with those in WWE given the nature of his 2014 exit and his negative comments about WWE over the years. Speaking on his Hall of Fame podcast this week, Booker T was asked if there's any noticeable difference between Punk now from his time in AEW in September when he got fired by Tony Khan. Booker said that Punk is showing the traits of regular CM Punk and made it clear that he's never had any beef with the best in the world. He added, "I've never had a beef with CM Punk. Not once. I've never had a beef with CM Punk. I never got to the point where I said something negative to the point where I was like, I want to fight CM Punk or some stupid stuff like that." Booker said that the nature of the business involves blending friendship and professionalism, and that for Punk's claim he's here to make money, not friends, it's important to establish connections. Building friendships within the industry is crucial, Booker added, as trust and care for wrestlers is essential in the ring, and that friendship wasn't there when Punk was working in AEW. This is about business. When he said I'm not here to make friends, he's here to make business, but in this kind of business you gotta have friends in order to do business, because you're working with a lot of guys that you have to trust in the middle of that ring. You gotta care about the guys that you're working with, it's just that simple. I'm not saying that to CM Punk at all because he knows that. There's a reason why things didn't work out in AEW, because a lot of those guys probably didn't care about each other. So far, Punk has been very friendly at WWE events, according to Backstage reports, and while he'll certainly make money if he can keep controversy free, he'll likely also make friends along the way. More from Raw now, as this week's show was a packed 3 hours, but the Red Brand also saw a dip in the ratings, with an average 1.466 million viewers turning in. That was a slight drop from the 1.533 million of the previous week, while the November 27th show, the first since CM Punk's return, did 1.884 million viewers. It'll be interesting to see how WWE combats this, as the holiday season usually takes a bite out of the company's viewership, and we'll have to wait and see what's next. Back to NXT as Cora Jade taunted the women's locker room until Lyra Valkyria arrived, and Blair Davenport also took issue with Jade taking the spotlight. Nikkita Lyons arrived and wasted no time brawling with Davenport, the woman who attacked her months ago, and it was Lyons and Valkyria who sent the heels running. Unfortunately, this segment was a serious misstep for the typically impressive women of the Gold brand, as everyone's timing was off on the mic and everyone had the same cadence in their promos. Valkyria, the champion, seemed to lose her words when trying to address both heels, and we are thankful that the swift arrival of Lyons turned words into actions. Lyons' feud with Davenport is proving far more interesting than either Valkyria vs. Jade or Valkyria vs. Davenport, and thankfully these four women fared much better in their tag team match. Davenport leveled Valkyria with a knee strike, but when Lyons pulled Davenport out of the ring, Jade was the legal woman for her team and stole the pin. This was a well-booked tag match that highlighted Davenport and Jade as credible threats to the Valkyrie, and the match kept the stories moving. NXT has a dangerous balancing act to play with these four, as NXT does not want to take away from Davenport's Iron Survivor win, but also still wants to sell Jade as the next challenger. It's likely that Lyons will cost Davenport her shot, and the story will transition to Valkyria vs. Jade. The next few weeks, though, will be important in keeping the women's division's momentum. Metaphor were in action this week, and despite the confidence of the faction, they ended up losing to Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon Henley. This was a fun match that highlighted the country trio that have already surpassed expectations, and this was the latest big showcase for Briggs and Henley. Sure, both may have lost at Deadline, but Briggs is looking great with the spotlight on him, while Henley is working at a top level with every woman. If NXT is moving on from Alpha Academy versus Metaphor, Briggs could be the perfect next challenger for Dar, as fans have not gotten a chance to see what Briggs can do in a longer singles match. In the men's breakout tournament, Miles Bourne tried to wear Oba Femi down, but Femi would end up squashing Bourne with a heightened powerbomb. Typically, the NXT breakout tournaments are predictable due to always highlighting talent already on TV. However, the only guy regularly on TV was eliminated in round 1. Bourne is talented and probably should have gone farther, but with a spot already made for him with Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, and Damon Kemp, it feels like Femi needed a big win much more. Femi will be one to watch in the 8-man tournament, as his size, speed, and power make him a credible favorite to win the whole thing. We mentioned that Bourne was the only regular on TV in the tournament, and that was the case at the start of this week's NXT, but not by the end. When NXT showcased the 8 participants, Lexis King attacked Trey Bearhill with a steel chair, and Ava would announce that King will be taking Bearhill's place in the tournament. In more tournament action, Riley Osborne defeated Keanu Carver to advance, and with Osborne already in the very much over Chase U, the future looks very promising for him. And that was WWE NXT, and the storytelling eclipsed the action on this week's Deadline Fallout show that started building towards New Year's Evil. 2023 has seen so much work done to elevate new stars, and it's paying off, as the story told by Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and Ilya Dragunov would not have worked without considerable time being invested. The NXT main event scene is in good shape, but the rest of the card is uneven, and our match of the night goes to Dragon Lee versus Tyler Bate, even if it didn't reach its fullest potential. Lyra Valkyria may be the star of the women's division, but her stories with Blair Davenport and Cora Jade have yet to fully land. Dijak and Eddy Thorpe brutalized each other, but the constant brutality of every feud may be wearing thin if the final match between the two does not land. The men's breakout tournament is off to an unusual start, but has the potential to elevate some new names. And while Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon Henley are on the rise, NXT hasn't committed enough in the past to make this feel entirely natural. Each of these stories have more potential, but until they're on track, the quality of the in-ring quality will still define the major effect of the show week to week. At AEW All In, MJF and Adam Cole captured the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, but the pair have only defended the titles one time, and that was over 3 months ago. With Adam Cole out injured, MJF has been forced to defend the title solo, or rope in the help of Samoa Joe, and now this unlikely tag team title reign may be coming to an end. During the media call before ROH Final Battle, Tony Khan was asked about the status of the ROH World Tag Team Championships and whether the titles could be vacated. He said, "That's definitely something to look into at some point. It's something MJF said was important to him and Cole was to try to maintain the belts to when Cole gets back. Obviously, it's been a long road to recovery from a bad injury, but we're all excited about having Adam Cole back in AEW as soon as he can come back. They're a great tag team for any company, and certainly have been a huge part of AEW this year, and a big success for us. With Adam Cole and MJF being champions, I think certainly that is something to consider." If the titles are vacated, it won't be the first time we'd have seen this for an ROH title, as Samoa Joe recently forfeited the TV title despite not being injured or needing to give up the gold. On the media call, Khan spoke highly of Joe's tenure as champion and noted that having a champion who can consistently appear for ROH will be beneficial. Speaking about Joe vacating the gold, Khan explained that the Samoan had achieved all his goals as champion and has set a new goal of capturing the AEW World Championship at World's End. Khan was also asked about the previous rumors of the CW being interested in ROH media rights and whether he prefers to negotiate AEW and ROH separately or as a package deal. Khan stressed the value of owning both libraries and pay-per-view events, and praised the quality of ROH's past events under his ownership, as well as the crossover within AEW and ROH. He later stated that CW executive Dennis Miller had attended an AEW show at the LA Forum, although the timing wasn't ideal, and is confident ROH will continue to provide value going forward. Khan also discussed memorable ROH matches, including the Briscoes vs. FTR trilogy, before turning his attention to the ROH Women's World title feud between Athena and Billie Starkz. Khan expressed enthusiasm for the process and shared that he has been in regular contact with Athena and Starkz since the Forbidden Door opened, and praised both women and Lexi Nair. When asked about Athena appearing outside of ROH, Khan called her an anchor to Ring of Honor, while also acknowledging the 9-match winning streak of Starkz. It was said that whoever wins their upcoming title match could be a valuable addition to AEW TV, while also continuing their role as champion for ROH. Khan next questioned about New Japan creating a global championship and the possibility of it being defended in either AEW or ROH, and a potential impact on the Triple Crown Championship. The Triple Crown will feature the New Japan Strong title, but Khan was open to having the NJPW Global Championship defended in his companies. Lastly, Tony Khan was asked about the identity of the sixth competitor in the match to crown the new ROH TV champion, and Khan said that fans will just have to stay tuned. He mentioned that there are a few more days and one more ROH on Honor Club show before Final Battle. And what do you make of Tony Khan's comments? Sound off in our comments section below. We've got some sad news regarding Jade Cargill now, as the WWE free agent is grieving the loss of her mother, who died very recently. On Instagram, Jade shared a touching tribute to her mom, saying she put up a good fight in her battle with cancer, and said that this isn't goodbye, but rather, see you later. Cargill added that she is thankful to God for giving her such an outstanding, loving mother, and we at Slat Rock would like to send our deepest condolences to Jade at this awful time.